Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Art to Finish session. We're going to be going through a number of ways to present to you today. We're going to start actually with a live video introduction. Then we're going to cut to a quick webinar demonstration of the software, the Intellicut software that comes included with the Aerocut Prime and Aerocut Velocity. And then we're going to cut back at the end and go through the cutting sequence on the Prime video feed of a few jobs that we create together. I'm going to walk you through quickly how to ensure that you're seeing the video feed in your full screen. On the bottom right corner of your Uber conference, if you could hover over and click on the box in the bottom right corner, it may say screen share right now. What you're going to want to do is change that to grid. If you're already on grid, you can just leave it. You'll see a video feed. Kara's actually waving at the camera now. Click on the three dots on the bottom left corner and pin the video. And then go back to the bottom right corner and select dynamic, and that'll make her full screen. Once she completes her introduction, you'll go back to that bottom right corner and you'll select screen share to go back to seeing my screen. We're going to toggle between those settings a few times. All of your audio feeds have been automatically muted upon entry. So don't worry. If you have any questions whatsoever, we will be doing a live Q&A at the end. There is a chat box that you can pull up. It's on the bottom left corner of the Uber conference screen option. Type any questions you have into that, and we'll either use that as a collection to address questions at the end of the call, or if you have some specific questions for technical support, especially about using Uber conference throughout the call, moderators are checking that and can respond to you there. Again, we'll be just doing I'll be handing it over to Karen now, and then we'll jump back to me in the screen share. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Zach, and welcome to Light Rod Live. Today's session is focusing on the Aerocut Prime. We're going to be discussing kind of at a secondary level. Last week we had an introductory session. If you go to lightrodlive.com, you'll notice that last week's session, I think it was on a Wednesday maybe, or maybe a Thursday, I can't remember. If you just click the little video camera, you'll be able to review that session. That went over sort of the basic operation of the machine, but we're going to just do another quick introduction for those of you might be new to the Aerocut. And then we are going to focus on one of the advanced features of Flexmode. This is the Aerocut Prime. There are two models of the Aerocut that is supported by the Intellicut software. So understand the Intellicut software is a PC-based product that assists with imposition and creating the artwork with a barcode that's read by the machine, as well as, let me show you the piece we're going to cut, as well as so imposes, places the barcode, places a cut mark so that we can assure perfect registration of cutting on this digital cutter. It also, in more advanced modes, and one thing that we'll focus on today, allows you to program the machine for unusual layouts. In fact, we're going to be looking at a couple of complex layouts in the software. One is a 2-up piece that folds into a tent card. This tent card has an actually very clever, simplistic, but does have some unique features of jump perfing. In order to self-lock the card, we have 3 creases. You'll see Zach build that, how easy you can just click on your artwork to add those, as well as these unique 2 little jump perfs. That forms the locking mechanism for this tent card. The other piece will be shown, we won't be programming the whole piece, but we'll give you an idea of how you can visually lay out. This is a 2-up piece that then cuts into actually 2 pieces with lots of perfs on it. And it builds into a 6 different pieces. We've used this for student orientation at a college, and there's multiple uses for these different layouts. It creates a lanyard, a name tag, a ID card, a bookmark, a little parking permit that's actually customized with a QR code with the driver's license number. So some personalization on there as well, a little name card. So these pieces Very unique to be able to create a sheet that the student can then just tear apart and build into their packet of very practical pieces they need for their orientation. But let's get started. Let me clear this off so you can get a little better idea. And if you want to move the camera, maybe we can just show some features of the Aerocut before we move on to the software demo. And then we'll get to jump back and see the hardware again at the end of the presentation. What we're going to show is probably the most common application done on the slitter cutter creasers, and that is of a multi-ep business card. You'll see Zach lay this out in about, I think the world record is about 12 seconds to create this layout. And you'll notice that we have 3 employees' names coming down vertically here. This makes sense because it will be stacking into the output trays by column. So we sort this in a specific manner for the Aerocut. It also contains a barcode of the template already programmed into the Aerocut. To operate the Aerocut, there are a couple of features here on the control panel. One is that we have the barcode being read to change the job as soon as it detects the barcode. We also have the cut mark I had mentioned earlier. This allows alignment from the top of the cut mark to the first cut, as opposed to from the top of the page to the first cut. This allows for perfect registration, even if there's a slight, even page by page shift as it feeds through a cut sheet printer. To get started, we just click our set button. I've loaded my tray. And watch here where you see the light beam. On the light beam there, you'll see it read, and then we have it set to drop directly into our little card carrier. That's just to give you a little sneak peek of the Aerocut and how easy it is to function. There are a lot of standard templates like the one feed here. Oh, and it's back again. 5x7 postcards, 4x6 postcards, kind of standard types of applications that are already in the machine. Then we have the ManuSet mode. That's if you have evenly spaced pieces, but maybe they're not in the standard library, or maybe it needs a quick crease or a perf down a ticket. And that's the ManuSet mode. And then the advanced mode of Flexmode. But as I mentioned, we're going to go ahead and just show you how business card is laid out for those folks who might be new. If you want to see a job with a ManuSet, we actually did one of those last week as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I believe you should. I'm going to just reset my screen share just to make sure. And it should either take over or allow you to switch to screen share. Awesome. If you're not able to see the screen share, please let us know in the chat. Otherwise, just make sure that you're in the bottom right corner of your screen. You have screen share selected. You should be seeing a presentation slide now. Again, as Karen mentioned, we'll be covering more so in this, the more advanced flex mode capabilities. We have gone through preset and ManuSet mode, which are the more commonly utilized but less sophisticated modes of the Aerocut in a previous LightRod Live session. To view those, you can always go back at any time, lightrodlive.com, and in previous calendar segments, there are live recordings of those sessions to get a little more information about those the ManuSet and preset modes. But we will be going over a general overview of these software in this art to finish demonstration. Intellicut software is a revolutionary tool, first of its kind, in position and variable data software that also acts as a controller of the Aerocut Velocity and Aerocut Prime. It comes included with the purchase of those two machines, completely covered with the purchase price of the Aerocut Velocity and Prime. That includes $3,500 for the purchase price of the Intellicut software and 1 year of annual licensing, which was $1,000. So it's a $4,500 value that does not increase that purchase price whatsoever. Completely comped when it is purchased for both devices, and that annual licensing doesn't begin until the actual software date is the date of the software installation. So not the date of purchase, but when you're ready to implement this solution, that's when your annual licensing begins. The software licensing includes ongoing technical support, installation assistance, as well as an upfront training. You get a one-on-one training with either myself or one of my colleagues to help with implementation and learning the software. We have a number of different videos on YouTube. We also have access to these videos, which go through a number of the features as well on our LightRod Live webpage. But more importantly, we want to train you and your customers with their actual jobs. So what I like to do in those training sessions is take actual jobs that you'll be cutting and use those as our learning material to help you build everything that you need to do up front and kind of learn that way. Intellicut was built specifically for the Aerocut product line, and we took a lot of things, we took a lot of the pain points in the workflow for the industry as a whole as building points, as what we were looking to accomplish when we set out to create this tool to alleviate those pains. Slitter cutter creasers all essentially act the same in terms of the way that they work and how they differ from traditional guillotine cutters. One of the big problems with them is the operational standpoint of programming and creating jobs that are compatible with those machines. The slitter cutter creasers, all of them have a number of rules based on how you can lay out a job specifically for the way the blades move inside of the machine itself. You're not just working with one blade as you traditionally are in a guillotine, but you're working with a large number of blades that work in concert with each other. How that's handled with other devices is that you have a computer that acts as a controller, but it's hardwired to the machine, and it has no intelligence or integration with imposition or pre-press or graphic design whatsoever. So you actually have to buy a computer, hardwire it to the machine, and then get up out of your desk anytime you want to create a new job or program it in by hand. You're really just entering measurements and calculations you've done yourself. We saw that. We thought it was pretty inefficient. We wanted to make a large improvement on that, and in doing so, we wanted to create a workflow that made sense sequentially. And everything starts in pre-press. It's why we call our presentation Art to Finish, because we wanted to create a workflow sequence that started in art and went all the way directly to finish without any inefficiencies in between. That's what Intellicut is. One thing that offered us a huge advantage over the workflows that are not even possible on other devices is that the Aerocut has an Ethernet port on the back of it. Like I said before, most slitter cutter creasers just have a USB to plug in a computer, whereas the Aerocut allows you to connect to any computer in your office as long as it's on the same local area network. So that was one of the big starting points on why Intellicut's so powerful. Any computer in the office, generally a pre-press or graphic designer, installs our software, and they now have a graphic design tool for imposition and variable data that also simultaneously acts as the controller of the machine. Multiple computers, in fact, in this workflow can be a controller of the Aerocut with Intellicut software on multiple seats. So how it works is simply a graphic designer creates the layout of the job they're going to be creating, creates a PDF print file from our imposition tool. That PDF is printed, and simultaneously, if you look at step number 2, the template is automatically sent to the Aerocut through the controller mechanisms of the same software to program the machine. Intellicut is a single source of truth that says it does both imposition, variable data, and Aerocut control all in one, and it does it all simultaneously. So as you create the PDF, you're also programming in the Aerocut for any job, whether that's a preset, very basic upfront job that's done very frequently, or a custom job you're doing for the first time, or even something as complex as a Flexmode jobs, which uses more of the advanced features like jump perfing, cross perfing, and different size jobs. The only thing I'll mention, I think actually Daniel offered a really good suggestion here in terms of being able, what is the starting point? What do you need to use from a design standpoint to be able to use Intellicut? And that all boils down to your artwork. The only thing that is needed for Intellicut to work and create your process from start to finish is a one-up artwork file that's either given to you by your customers who have placed an order, or designed by your graphic design department. I'll show you in a little bit further detail here what that artwork looks like, but as long as you're using, if you're a graphic designer, you simply have to bring in artwork that's been formatted as a one-up image with some space for bleed, and that's really up to you as a graphic designer what works best for you. Adobe InDesign or Adobe Illustrator are often used to create these artwork files, and that's really it. So it's the starting point that we take over from graphic design when the artwork is created. As long as it's a one-up artwork image, we do the imposition of it multiple times on the page, and we stage it for printing. Let me know if any other questions come up. I'm going to hop into the software at this point, and let's actually build that business card that Karen just cut. We're going to go, most of the time we're going to go through Flexmode, but we're going to create a business card. There's 3 distinct types of templates in the Aerocut that the Aerocut uses. Preset, 180 templates that are already in the memory of the machine on day one. These are jobs that are popular US-based paper sizes and popular US-based cut sizes. So obviously the job Karen just did, probably the most frequently utilized job for any Aerocut, for the Aerocut overall, which is a business card 2 by 3.5, the standard business card size in the United States, on 12 by 18 paper. I'm going to select new job, and we'll actually see all 180 templates are available to us here. And again, these are presets, so they're in the memory of Intellicut on day one, and they're already in the memory of the Aerocut. No communication needs to happen whatsoever. This is a really nice ability, a nice feature that offers the ability to get started with using the Aerocut right away. You don't have to do anything at all. You don't even have to have the Aerocut network connected at this point. All you have to have is a business card one-up artwork file. That is all. In fact, let me just, because Daniel asked about it, let me open up what I'm bringing into the software that was given to me by a customer who placed an order. So let me go in my images folder here. All I'm doing is bringing in a PDF that is a one-up of a front side of a business card and a back side of a business card. Actually, this is 3 different business cards because I'm going to be doing 3 different business cards at once. So we have front side 2 by 3.5 image because there's no bleed on this, and then the back side 2 by 3.5 image. I believe this was probably made by a graphic designer in Adobe product. As long as you have this, everything else is taken care of. We're going to lay this 24 up. We're going to throw a barcode on it, and we're going to send it to the printer. I'm going to, because we're not creating a template at this point, again, even if this is the very first time we ever used the Aerocut, all we're doing is finding it in the list because it's already there. I'm going to filter by paper size, and I'm going to filter by keyword, 2 by 3.5. And we see we have a number of different options. We have a single cut option. Sometimes the preset templates have 2 different options. You have single cut, which has only 1 cut in between cards, and then double cut, which gives you room for a bleed. You can use you must use double cut if you're doing a bleed job, so you have 4 cuts between each card instead of just a single cut in between cards. You'll notice that there's a gutter here that no matter if you're doing single cut or double cut, you're always going to have this gutter, and that's one of the requirements. That's one of those inherent blade movement requirements. And what's nice is that this is already built into the software. You don't have to go into your graphic design tool and modify this or another imposition tool, which would make it hard to set this gutter up. It's already here. So I'm going to just select this template. I'm going to do duplex. I'm going to, at this point, I can name my project. I'm going to leave it the default name. And the other thing I could do is I could change my orientation. If the artwork that was given to me by a graphic designer was portrait, I would select this, but it's actually landscape, so I'm going to leave it at that. I have this preview over here, this preview pane. It's one of the nice features. Actually, part of that licensing cost is, of course, the biggest thing you're paying for is ongoing development and improvements, enhancements made to the software. We're continually working and developing this software. This is a new feature I think came out in our spring release 2020. I really love it. It gives me an idea at any time what my template's going to look like before I actually create the project. In our software, we always work in a one-up view. And so you can see we have a front side tab, and because we're in a duplex job, I have a back side tab. I'm going to bring in my artwork right now. And so I can see my front side and my back. This is a little bit unique. I'm doing this more advanced. If you want a more generic way to use preset and manuset templates, please watch one of our previous sessions. in this, I'm actually going to be taking these 3 pages and I'm going to be extrapolating them 8 times because I want columns of 8. I want the first column to be all one person's name, Karen's name. Then I want the next column to be the next, and the next column to be the next, so that I actually have 3 business cards I'm doing at a time. Normally, what you would do is either this, or you would have 1 card, Karen, do 24 up. We wanted to show you more advanced capabilities. So you can see, because I extrapolated 8, we have Karen all the way down the column, Jim all the way down the next, and then my business card on the right. What's really nice is that the software knows exactly how to order this by default. I didn't have to change the direction or ordering anything. It knows that it needs to order it down the column because that's how the Aerocut cuts and stacks. This is more of an advanced feature to be able to use what we call PDF pages, multi-business cards at once, and repeat them in a certain way. We'll be talking about this more detail in the future, but I just want to show you how easy it is to create that job that Karen cut for you in the beginning of the presentation. The second type of template that the Aerocut uses is the most, I would say, preset and manuset are the most frequently utilized types of jobs. And you get 100 additional memory slots in the Aerocut. Beyond the 180 presets, you get 100 manuset jobs. Manuset is used in cutting cards of the same size, which is mostly what people are doing, and creating templates that are going to be cut all of the same size and that don't use the more advanced cross perf or jump perf features. We covered manuset quite a bit in a previous session, so I'm not going to be creating a job specifically for that. But when you do create a manuset template or a Flexmode template, which is what we'll be doing today, it saves that at the bottom of your library. These are all keyword searchable as well, and they also all utilize the preview pane. So I can always click and select and take a look at anything at the bottom in my custom templates or anything up here in my preset templates to see anything from cuts, bleeds. You can even see crease lines and perf lines that are shown in this preview as well. What we will be creating today is Flexmode. Now, bear in mind, Flexmode is used specifically for creating either jobs that are not all cut the same, or in the case of the Aerocut Prime, to do advanced features like Karen showed you with that jump perf. That's what we're doing today. So we're going to create a Flexmode job. So I'm going to select custom template. I'm going to name my project. What I like to do is I like to name it based on the specifications of the job. So in this case, that is 12 by 18 paper I'm printing on. And then I'm going to be doing flex mode. I'll type in flex, and I'm going to do 4 by 15.75. So this way I can search for this in keyword later. This is what the name of the template that I named it here is what's going to be saved in my InPosition software to find it next time I'm going to create a PDF print file, probably with different artwork, and also what it's saved into the Aerocut's memory for. I'm going to press next now. I'm going to enter in the specifications of this project. I'm going to say simplex, it's a one-sided job. I'm going to say 12 by 18. And as I make these changes, you'll notice that the preview window will update. So when I type in 4 width and 15.75 height, it's updating and showing me what these are going to look like. Now watch when I turn bleed on, it's going to show me that pink area for bleed space. I really love being able to use this preview feature to kind of get an idea for what it's going to look like, and also kind of change. I can experiment with different paper sizes or orientations to see which one is going to get me the least amount of space wasted on the paper. This job in particular, though, because it's only 2 up, there's not too many variations I can experiment with, but more so when you're using 24 or 30, 12, 16 up, things like that. You can kind of experiment with rotating the paper in a certain direction, seeing if you'll get more or less up on the page and things like that. I'm going to save this into my template in my library now. What we just did was create a manuset template. We created a basic manuset template of cutting out this 4 by 15.75 with bleed space card. And normally this is where I would stop. I would add my artwork, I would send it, I would create a PDF, and then I would go to this paper cuts button right here, and I would press send to Aerocut. By doing that, I would then program the Aerocut with the specific barcode information into the machine's memory, so that when I printed this out, add my artwork and created a PDF, I would just scan it at the machine, and it would already know where I'll do all the cutting. Today, though, we're actually going to be converting this ManuSet job into Flexmode. You can actually create Flexmode completely from scratch, because all Flexmode is doing is saying to you, in Flexmode, you program in every single action yourself, so you have complete control over the layout. I think it's much easier to do it this way, because we now have, by converting it to Flexmode now, we're already pre-programming all the cuts. All the cuts are already pre-programmed for me, and I can just add things like perfs and creases later. So I'm going to actually go to Convert to Flexmode. And now what I do is select the barcode that I'm going to be saving it under. So it's saying save it under the same name. Yes, I want to use that same name. But what I want to do is I want to talk to the Aerocut. I select from list. And now it's saying to me, here's all your barcode slots. You get, again, you get 180 presets. You get 100 additional custom template ManuSets. So that's 280 right there. And then you get 50 additional presets. So you get a total of 330 memory slots of simultaneous programming of any jobs that you want. When I select from list, it shows me here's all the template slots, 100 to 150, which are the ManuSet slot, or sorry, the Flexmode slots. It shows me which ones are taken and which ones are vacant. So ideally, I'll just select a vacant slot. But if everyone was taken, I could also select a taken, a used slot, and just overwrite it. But in this case, I have 114 vacant. I'll press OK, and I'm going to save it there. Now what this means is that when I program the Aerocut, it's going to use barcode number 114, and it's going to save it under slot 114. So everything from there on out will be perfectly taken care of for me for the barcoding. I've now converted to Flexmode. What I want to do, I'm going to add my artwork, import image. Import image is what you use when you have, this is the right one, yep. When you are doing just the same image multiple times on the page, which is what we're doing in this case. And import images most of the time what people are doing. They're doing one card 16 times on the page for a single run without any changes. Today's session's not going to talk about variable data too much. We're going to do a future session. Also, our previous session really got into variable data as well. But I want you to know that variable data is an integral part of this software. This is a fully fledged imposition and variable data tool. And you can do variable data a number of ways at any time. So just so you know, you can bring in a data file and do mail merge. You can create barcodes from a data file. You can also bring in pre-merged PDFs. We'll take a look at that a little bit in the future here. You can bring in pre-merged PDFs as well. And the most important thing for us is that we order the pages the way they're going to cut and stack. So for example, if I'm doing if I'm doing a postcard and I bring in a data file, we are going to do a calculation to know exactly how many stacks will there be and how many records are there, so we ensure that they're cut and stacked exactly the way that we create the PDFs automatically. All you have to do is bring in your data, create your PDF, and we will ensure that the PDFs that we print are going to be cut and stacked in order that you brought in your data. So that's something we'll cover in a lot more detail in a future session, but just wanted you to be aware of it. Now that I've brought in my artwork, I've converted this to Flexmode. So now what we're going to do is we're going to draw our cuts and perfs. Sorry, our creases and perfs. So I'm going to go add crease. I'm in the preview and position mode. I'm going to add crease. And I know that I have a crease here. I have another crease in the middle. And I have a third crease at the bottom here. Now, when you're drawing things, I like to zoom in and really make sure that it's lined up correctly. So I highlight and I use my arrow keys. That looks perfect now. This middle one's a little tricky. Put that around here. And then right on the bottom too. Now, after I've done that, you have a number of ways. You can draw them. You can modify them by moving them like I just did. Or you can always just go to Configure, and you can see the measurements from the top or from the previous cut, and you can update those yourself. So you can do anything. You can do drawing or based on a measurement and update the measurements. You can always do any of that yourself as well. Now the last thing we're going to do is add our perfs, our Y perforations. So again, you can draw those as well, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put in the measurements, because I know that this perf, I've pre-calculated this, is 3.86 from the right side of the paper, and then my second perf is 4.26 from the previous perf. When I do that, you'll see that it now adds 2 perfs to the pieces. I could have drawn those, but I wanted to put them in the exact spots for when we print this out. Now you'll see though, the only problem is that these are full perfs down the entire length of the sheet. So I'm going to go back into configure, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to change these into jump perfs, which is these settings right here. I know that my first jump perf, I want to be 1.86. Now the jump perfs are perfs that start in the middle of the page and end in the middle of the page. So they actually just go through a distinct area. And they can start and stop with unperfed space before them or after them. And I want my length to be 0.8. Because what we're doing here is just creating small perf slits. My next perf that I'm doing is 14 inches below that, 14.3. And again, I want to be 0.8 of a perf. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to press OK, and I'm going to zoom in, and you'll see that that's what that's done. It's created a perf about 2 inches from the top of the page. That's only 1/8 inch in length. And then 14 inches below that, it's created our second perf down here. And I'd already calculated that. That is something you're going to have to do some measuring on, is figuring out exactly where on the paper you want to set these jump perfs up. But what's nice is that now that I've done that for this one on the right side, I can copy those settings into the left side card and automatically apply it. And with that, I can visually modify advanced cutting and perfing features that were previously very difficult to do. You had to do a lot of calculations and figure that out all by hand. And now I'm ready to go back to paper cuts. And I'm going to send this into the Aerocut. And what's very important is that when I send this directly into the Aerocut's memory, it tells me here the perf adjustment measurements. Again, with Flexmode and with perfing, you're doing a lot more than you usually have to do because they're more advanced jobs. And with these, you do have to make some minor adjustments to the perf units inside of the machine. And so all you're going to do is you're going to jot down these numbers, and Karen will show you where you'll move the perf wheels to these exact measurements. So we give you the exact measurements of how you're going to adjust the perf unit, and you'll just take these and you'll jot them down. You'll go from there. That is all that is involved in creating an advanced feature pretty much from scratch. We just literally created an advanced Flexmode layout from scratch. Normally, you wouldn't even be doing most of the things that we did here. You'd be creating a manual set job. All you'd be entering is cut size, on what paper size, and whether it has bleed or not, and programming the Aerocut that way. Flexmode, there's a lot more to it, so it does require a few more steps. I do recommend, again, if you haven't seen the manual set, go watch one of our previous videos or go to Lightrod's YouTube page, and there's a nice series on how to create manual set jobs as well there as well. The last thing I'm going to be doing today is showing you what you can do to visit our library. Now let me go, I'm going to pull over my browser here. If you go to lightrod.com and you go to our demonstration files library, you can click on Aerocut Velocity or Prime, and you can click on a specific paper size, in this case 12 by 18. And you have a number of options here. First, you have a lot of preview print files for preset. You can just print these out, and of course, they're preset, so they'll just literally scan. You don't have to do anything to your machine. These are great for demos or to do some testing. If you have a new device and you want to test to make sure the alignment is in calibration, you can always print these out. You can do manual set jobs, and you can download these and then send them over to the Aerocut the same way that we'll do for the Flexmode. I'm going to do a Flexmode job, and I really like this library, especially from Flexmode, because building new Flexmode jobs is rather complicated, and we have a library that we're continually adding to based on customer submissions. All of these actually are customer jobs that we actually help build, or they are submitted to themselves. And now you can simply download the zip file here, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back into my Intellicut software. I'm going to go to the Welcome menu. I'm going to go to Open Archive, and I'm going to open that zip file. And now you can bring in your own artwork on a specific layout of what we've done. If you go back to that our demo page, we give you the exact specifications of what we've done. We tell you, what size image you need to bring in and where we're doing specific perfing and creasing. And you can create your own artwork, bring that into here, And if I go to preview here, you'll see, in fact, let me hide the artwork. If I zoom in, you'll see all the perfs that are already pre-formatted for this specific job, all the creases and all the cuts. Another thing that's really nice about this is now I can add my own artwork, create my PDF, but in addition to that, I can just go to paper cuts and program my Aerocut. I just send it over directly to the Aerocut, and all of the hard work of creating the layout from scratch yourself is already done. We are ready to create our PDF with our own artwork, and we're ready to program the Aerocut, which we just did. And again, here's those perf settings to make the adjust the wheels. So I always recommend going to our live demonstration library on our website. Find some really cool looking applications that you have yourself, and as long as you have the Intellicut software, which of course you will if you have an Aerocut Velocity or Prime, open up that archive and send it to the Aerocut yourself. Print it out, add your own artwork, and start using that as one to add to your own portfolio. Or alternatively, if you have a really cool job you've created, either Manuset or Flexmode, and you want to share with other users of the machine or with Lightroute with us, please email us a zip file. You can go to Save as Archive, and we'll add that to our library so it can be downloaded by other users. Awesome. With that being said, we've printed out a number of jobs. We're going to hand that back over to Karen, and she's going to take those from the printer and cut them on the machine, and just give you a bit of a more of a walkthrough for how the machine works from the workflow standpoint of creating a template from scratch, programming the machine, and printing it out to the printer. We're going to go through similar to what we did before. Bottom right corner of the screen, it should say screen share now. You should be able to just click and change it to dynamic, and it should take over the entire screen with the video feed. You should just see the Aerocut Prime. If it's not showing that, go back to that bottom right corner, change it to grid, click the 3 dots on the Aerocut video feed, and say pin video, and then go back to dynamic. So you should have that video feed pinned and grid mode, and then go back to dynamic, and you should see a camera feed now. And I'm going to hand it back over to Karen, who will take over. Thank you so much.
We're going to go ahead and take the 2 jobs that Zach pointed out, the 2 Flexmode jobs, and show a little bit of how you work with the Aerocut, particularly with the perfing unit, and how you need to program, or adjust that perfing unit to pick up those perfs. So the 2 jobs we're going to take a look at is the 2-up tent card. As Zach mentioned, this is actually a customer application. We often put customer applications up in our library. Originally, it was a bar in, I think it was in Chicago, that used little table cards to promote different beverages or specials of the night. The one that they let us use their artwork and their design was this swashbuckler. We thought this was so clever because of the ability to be able to do the soft locking mechanism with a simple jump perf, as opposed to sometimes folks have to have plastic stands and a bunch of other things, especially with the COVID. A lot of restaurants are having to throw things out once somebody has sat at the table. So being able to quickly be able to produce these for your tables on the fly. As we saw, we went ahead and downloaded that application. Zach showed you rebuilding it, but we have lots of folks who just open the application archive, replace the artwork like we did for this COVID theme or any other type of tabletop devices. The second application we're going to show is the student orientation card, but let's focus on this piece for now. It was programmed into Aerocut position 111. I'm going to have the camera operator come over here again. Let me step to this side so he can get a good view here. Although the Intellicut flashes on the screen where to set your perf unit, you may not be in direct communication with the operator. To set the perf unit, let me get rid of these tabletops and open up my system so you can see. These are the perf units here. To adjust them, you simply loosen and then move the units. They do need to align, and I think we can get this on the camera, the little blades down here do need to align with these plastic wheels. If you move the unit in a way that it no longer aligns with that, like let's say your perf unit was over here at 10, for example, it would no longer line up with this plastic wheel here. So you would actually need to remove this and move the plastic wheel, because that's what adds pressure to the paper in order to perf. We do have a video on our website, and I think also on YouTube, that actually shows the process of how you adjust the little plastic wheel. In order for us to know how to adjust, we're going to go, I guess I should have done this first. We're going to go here. We're going to go to Flexmode. The first job we're going to run is job 111. So we can just say read, and then you can scroll through all of the Flexmode jobs. They are in position 101 to 150. And here's our job 111 that Zach programmed down. We just click, and actually this is a good example of all the things you would have to manually figure out. It's a very difficult menu to implement. And as you saw, it was quite simple, although a little measuring involved. At the end of the day, you can visually see everything against your artwork, where otherwise you're kind of playing blind here with all of these measurements. So it's quite a time saver. Anyway, since it's already all programmed, we just click OK. And it will actually remind us of the adjusting perf unit values. What I did, because I knew I'd be doing a live demo, is I actually put little cheat markers on here. Although I've seen lots of operators do that, they have a tendency to have certain perfing jobs that they adjust to. So 3.86, here's our 3, and then 0.86 is this darker pink arrow, so I didn't have to realign it all. And then the second one, I'm looking at my screen, is 8.123. I'm going to move my bar and line it up. I always have to get up on my tiptoes. It's better if you're a taller person and you can place it right in line. Now that the unit is adjusted, the perfing unit will automatically turn on and off. So that's one of the differences in the Aerocut Prime and the Aerocut Velocity. On the Aerocut Velocity, there is a perfing unit, but it's a manual turn on and turn off. So you have to remember to turn it on and off in addition to adjusting it. What's great about the Prime is I can go ahead and perf this job, and then I could go run those business cards, for example, and it would auto turn off the perfing unit. Okay, so I'm just going to click return and get back to my main menu screen. As we did before, we click set. Okay. Once the machine is all set up, I'm just setting this to small quantities. It just flies through with the auto perfing increasing. Those of you who've been in the print and finishing business know that this usually involves 3 separate pieces of equipment. We can see it with one piece of equipment in a single pass how quickly this just feeds through. Very little operator intervention. And this little conveyor belt, you can adjust how the pages feed into the system. So this job, again, as I mentioned, might take 3 different pieces of equipment to cut the job, crease the job, and then do this manual perfing. I'm not sure how you would even do that on a separate piece. And then that makes our self-locking cards. So very convenient and easy to do. The next piece we're going to take a look at is the student orientation packet. The student orientation packet is a 2-up piece. It builds into, and I kind of tried to line them up here so you could see this. It cuts into 2 pieces. I'm not sure if you can see that on the camera. And so one for each student. So they can put this in the orientation packet along with the cover letter. And this actually resolves, this is a real application we did for a university, and it resolves a lot of issues in terms of the registration process. One of the challenges is having parking permits. This is actually geared to the student's individual car. When they registered, they entered their license plate number so that the campus security can actually scan this and assure that it matches, along with ID cards, a little card for their desk when they're attending their sessions, that they know their name, and a little lanyard ID card, a little bookmark even. So all of these pieces, in fact, 2 sets of those, are all laid out on a single sheet of paper, really showing the power of Flexmode. Again, what we want to do is, I'm going to step in front of the camera. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Flexmode. We're going to read in job number, let me see here, 103. It says right here. We click OK. Again, you can see, oh, I skipped past it, but lots and lots of measurements for this particular job. And it's telling us to adjust the purse at 4.5 and 8.5. So we click return, 4.5 and 8.5. Again, I have my little cheaters, although these are very even numbers, so it makes it a little bit easier. The light pink arrows. Let me go ahead and get this lined up at 4.5 and at 8.5. And then you just tighten that down with this the little knob here. And again, we are assured that our little white pressure bar is aligned with the blade. Okay, we're all set. We're going to go ahead, click our set button. It lowers down the tray. And now we click start. It raises the tray. I'm not sure if I mentioned at the beginning, if you have any questions on the hardware, I know we got some in the early morning session about what type of paper it feeds and speeds and cost. I would recommend you talk to your local MBM dealer or the folks in North Charleston, South Carolina at MBM. They'll be happy to help you. You can always write to us at sales@lightrod.com and we'll get you connected with the right folks for hardware or software questions. So you can hear the perfing unit. It's got to do all the cross perfing and jump perfing. The camera here. Let me go ahead so you can see the job come out. Get our tent cards out of the way. And you see that it's really very amazing that it's just perfectly. And this is kind of hard artwork to get that perfectly lined up here with that change in the color, the bookmark, the little tent cards. So really very impressive piece. And again, this layout we've seen used for lots of different types of event coordination. And so we thought this is one of our favorites. So again, we put the template up on the website so that you can maybe use that for one of your pieces. We also give you this very artwork so you can print it out and give a great demo on the system or make adjustments if you're a new Aerocut user. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's session. We will be continuing our series on the MBM cutting equipment through mid-November. So I think we have 5 more sessions. On Wednesday, we'll be talking about the award-winning VR Cut Ready Triumph Cutter Series. We did have introductory sessions last week, and videos are up if you'd like to click on those videos and take a look at those sessions. Well, thanks for joining us.